So in the last 24 hours, I learned of two names of two people I've never met and never will, sadly. And frankly, I wish that I hadn't. Those names are Yaron Lischinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgri. Now I know those names because they were the two victims of a horrific attack in Washington, D.C. They were employees of the Israeli embassy, and they were murdered while they were attending a Jewish event held by the American Jewish Congress. My thoughts and prayers go out to their families at this time and all of the staff at the Israeli embassy. The Israeli ambassador to the United States shared that Yaron and Sarah were actually a couple, and that Yaron had purchased an engagement ring and planned to propose to her in Jerusalem. Instead of celebrating an engagement, the two families are now preparing to make arrangements for the funerals of their loved ones. Tragically, this is a result of what we've seen in the last 19 months and prior in the United States. The murderer was wearing a keffiyeh and shouted, "Free Palestine," because murdering two employees of the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C. apparently was going to free Palestine. So we have seen this incitement, and ultimately this shouldn't be shocking to anybody, because what starts with words never ends with words. So if you have been somebody wearing a keffiyeh and chanting Intifada revolution, if you've been chanting Zionists off our streets, if you've been chanting globalize the Intifada, if you've been working to exclude Zionists from your community or your organizations, trying to isolate them and remove them from these spaces, today you have blood on your hands. It's as simple as that. There's no ifs, there's no buts, there's no maybes. You have been complicit in the demonization, in the spreading of these blood libels. And most of you have no idea what is going on in the Middle East. You have no inkling of what the actual reality is. Mainstream media have carried Hamas casualty figures time and time again as their leads and headlines, only to find out weeks, months later that, shockingly, a genocidal terrorist group lied. There's something deeply disturbing that after October 7th, when the Jewish state was attacked, when its people were murdered, its people were taken hostage into Gaza, where 58 remain, it was Israel that was condemned. It was Israel which saw itself targeted with protest and incitement all over the world. Anti-Semitism continues to mutate even in our modern age. Sadly, this is not a new story in Jewish history. How many names are there of people that they didn't know, that were strangers, but they know because they were murdered simply because of who they were? Sarah and Yaron are added to a long list. Hirsch Goldberg, Ariel and Kafir Bibas, Shiri Bibas, and the name goes on and on. For those who have closed their eyes to this, the spiraling anti-Semitism, have said, well, that's over there, it's not here. It is here. The incitement, the hatred, the extremism, it has resulted in murder, which was the natural conclusion to this. Where else was it going to go? This is how it always starts, with incitement, with dehumanization, with justifying attacks and violence, with justifying exclusion. This is always where it ends. That's why we must speak out. Already the Free Palestine crowd are in a tailspin, blaming once again Israel for this. Either diminishing it, either dismissing it, or saying that, oh, the Zionists are trying to paint the peaceful pro-Palestinian movement as violent. Peaceful? How many college campuses have you destroyed or torn up? A peaceful movement doesn't protest outside of synagogues. A peaceful movement doesn't see an increase in hate crimes against a group that you are protesting. A peaceful movement doesn't murder people in the streets of Washington, D.C. This is not a peaceful movement. It is a nefarious, evil, and cancerous movement in our society. And it doesn't even speak for the Palestinians. The legacy of the Free Palestine movement post 10/7 has been hatred, has been violence, and now murder. And we must speak up. We must condemn this, and we must stand shoulder to shoulder with our Jewish brothers and sisters. This is Kasim Hafeez for the CUFI Weekly. For Zion's sake, do not remain silent. Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to cufi.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.